Now, I've got to be honest, I can't call myself a huge Animal Crossing super mega fan, and as everything I know about the new game, really the biggest negative I would say is probably just the one island per console rule. So if several people share the same console, as often happens in many families, you have to have a different copy of the game, apparently. This comes off as extremely greedy and short sighted, but outside of that, I actually didn't know that the biggest problem with Animal Crossing was it's in fact promoting colonialism.
दासी को माँ को बिच लोग
Cabe tak mas kapal?
का आबे पिनिच काश
That it's a perfect map for socialism? I don't understand. This is the kind of think pieces you get from trash websites like Vice and Polygon as adults continue to try and force their politics in every little thing they possibly can. And this includes children's games. Now, I'm not dissing people by saying children's games. Heck, I still like the Pokemon games. Those are clearly for kids. It's not like that. But what I'm saying is these games are designed for kids, and I don't think they have any deeper meaning, but that won't stop the think pieces. The think pieces, they will flow. And Vice put out their review. Animal Crossing New Horizons is a little heaven in a world gone to heck. While the politics aren't perfect, it's certainly better than the real worlds. What?
You racist son of a that's cultural appropriation, you mother.
When I first arrived on Ella, the deserted island, I named it after my cat. It rained for a week. My boyfriend was irritated as I hunted snails and went fishing, trying to reap the meager bounties of the island that the island had to offer. Is it still raining? He'd ask me, watching me standing there with my fishing pole and in the water, raindrops bouncing off my head. It's almost as if he was mad at the island for being gloomy while I was there. It was sunny this morning, I'd say. I'm not sure he really believed it. I don't think this author really has a boyfriend. Oh, it's Gita Jackson. Oh, Gita. Of course. Now, I'm not really interested in what Gita Jackson has to say about a children's game that people play to just enjoy. What's interesting to me is just how much of a Olympic level reach she has for someone that appears to be pretty much out of shape. Games that share some DNA with Animal Crossing New Horizons are often preoccupied with the obtaining and hoarding of resources in a way previous entries in the Animal Crossing series haven't been. There can be an oiliness to Minecraft when you think about how radically you alter the world. A game like Satisfactory doesn't even pretend to have a pleasant facade and casts you in the role of an employee of a heartless, capitalist corporation intent on stripping the resources from the planet. Those two games are about control, and in a way New Horizons is too. But as much as you have control over your island, it is a lot, especially compared to other Animal Crossing games. What stands out about the New Horizons is the way it makes you accept your lack of control. Animal Crossing New Horizons is basically a fantasy of harmless colonialism, one where all the rough edges have been sanded off to make room for talking animals, pastel furniture, and catching bugs. Tom Nook has started a new desert island getaway travel package, and you, along with two other animal villagers, take him up on it. More than anything, Animal Crossing's New Horizons asks the player, what makes a society? Each and every action you take to develop your island is an exercise in community building. Several characters in the game will tell you what makes your island special is your presence, your outreach to your neighbors, your kindness. It's as much about a game about community organizing as it is claiming new lands. But let's be clear, it's also about claiming new lands and stripping them for resources in the pursuit of consumer goods and leaving them destroyed and forgotten in your wake. I may not be displacing a native people or anything like that, but it's still hard to wash off the politics of the frontier when I play. The idea of finding, quote, unoccupied land and taming it, turning it into an urban society, is so entangled with colonialism that it's impossible to unravel that knot. How do these people enjoy anything in life? I'm serious. Gita Jackson, have you actually ever smiled? Unironically, but the analogy to real-world extractive colonialism gets much more pointed when it comes to New Horizons' two new mechanics, Nook Miles and crafting. Nook Miles are a new currency you earn just for doing stuff you'd normally do throughout your day. In order to upgrade from a tent to an actual home, you'll pay off your first loan in Nook Miles. I mainly earned mine through chopping trees and smacking rocks with shovel to gather stone, iron, clay, and selling bundles of weeds. I paid off the loan in a day. Sometimes in order to craft something you want for your house, you'll need more resources than your island can offer. And to that end, you can buy a ticket to a random island using your Nook Miles, appropriately called Nook Miles Ticket. Nook Miles can be exchanged for other useful game items like crafting recipes. You're essentially given carte blanche to wreck the place. Using Nook Miles Ticket to gather enough resources to, say, build a few wooden tables is the first time Animal Crossing has ever felt violent to me.
The f*** are you talking about? The f*** are you talking about?
Because Nook Miles Tickets islands are essentially disposable. You're not going to face any repercussions from destroying all the rocks and cutting down all the trees. I wish I could just go to these islands and demolish them. It felt purely mercenary. It became something I would do as I watched reality television, which is how I handle the boredom of most other chores. I would pick every flower, chop every tree, hit every rock, collect every bug and fish. Devastation laid in my wake. It was like a cutesy cartoon version of what happened as European explorers ventured out into Asia, Africa, and the Americas. They took everything. And you might be thinking that this is irony. It isn't. When a game lets you do anything, I always get analysis paralysis. If there are too many options, I freeze up, too anxious about what I'm missing out on if I can't make my choice too hastily. Well, if a video game is too difficult for you, Gita, perhaps consider not ever leaving your house. And the article goes on and on and on. I won't read the whole thing because it's truly drivel. The last two paragraphs tells you everything you need to know. I try to play New Horizons shortly after I wake up and after work, before the shops close at 9, starting the day with an announcement from Isabel, who just arrived and is taking over the morning announcement duties from Nook. It's a nice way I know how to greet him, blah, blah, blah. There's a simplicity to life on Ella that I cherish, especially as life becomes uncertain and stressful in the wake of everything going on and the Democratic presidential primary. 2 weeks ago, I went canvassing for the Sanders campaign. Most of the people in the building I canvassed weren't home, and most of those weren't speaking English. The few people who were open to speaking with me and my friend were warm, personable and friendly. A few invited us in for water. One was a 99-year-old socialist who told us she was a delegate for Walter Mondale in the Democratic National Convention in 1980. Another got into Sanders through her daughter, who encouraged her to buy a huge banner for the balcony. It's been contentious primary, and online's felt pretty toxic, but talking to people in their homes, that unpleasantness melted away. Oh wow, I'm glad. I'm really glad. And then we have this article. I mean, this is not the first type of article. We have this. Animal Crossing is a blueprint for functional socialism. Animal Crossing's New Horizon is sure to push the series' socialist ideology to an even wider audience. Literally what?
Stop it. Get some help.
Animal Crossing isn't a game people play for a few hours or days and then set aside. It's a game that people spend months or even years on, tweaking their flower beds, rearranging furniture, and doing everything in their power to get Biddy to move out of town. But when so many people dedicate so much time to a game essentially boils down to a living in a town simulator, it begs the question, what do people get from Animal Crossing that they don't get in the real world? You don't get it. They get not the real world, which is what they like about the game, you absolute morons. That's why people play games like this. That's why people like The Sims, because they have control, because it's built in a vacuum, because it doesn't have the same stresses and anxieties as the real world. And you have this, these type of think pieces where they talk about how it's just great. You can just read everything that you need to know from this author in the last 2 paragraphs. In essence, Animal Crossing paints a picture of a friendly, functional society wherein different species coexist peacefully with their every basic need fulfilled in full. The government is run by and for the community, ensuring that the needs of the townsfolk are properly met without ever overstepping or interfering with their private lives. From there, animals have freedom to pursue their interests, provide communal services, and consolidate wealth. Wow. It's a system that works and everyone is happy except for Biddy because she sucks and needs to move. In the real world, we're stuck in a capitalist nightmare, riddled with government-enforced debt, corrupt politicians, corporations acting as people. White supremacism is on the rise. In Animal Crossing, we never need to worry about having fresh food, clean water, or a roof over our heads. A duck and a wolf can be right next door neighbors and everything is totally fine. Are you joking? These people who write these articles are not adults, and I seriously question their ability to live on their own. I'm not kidding you. There's an organization called like the Adult Protection Services, APS. You might know about CPS. I think that they probably should pay a visit to people that write these articles because they clearly don't know how to exist in modern society, and it's been the same ever since. I mean, you have this article back on Polygon from Colin Campbell. Amazon's questionable MMO has you colonize the new world. By the way, I'm very much looking forward to this game. But this entire article is about colonialism is bad. You know, the whole thing that built this entire country, that allowed for this infrastructure that you have, that pays you the large salary to write terrible articles. You know, all of that is built on colonialism. I'm just saying. And then you write articles like, the indigenous people were susceptible to old common world pathogens when first encountered by white explorers. They were often found to be in the grip of the plague. To the white men, here was evidence that these wretched men and women and children had been abandoned by God. I'm going to go back to playing my Final Fantasy XIV online. And now with all this talk about Animal Crossing, I kind of want to try the game out. Maybe I'll get an older version first. I'm not sure. Haven't turned my Switch on in way too long. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.